Case Study 2, Mining and Corporate Social Responsibility, Scotbar Proprietary Limited. This case study of Scotbar Mining and Corporate Social Responsibility looks at developing a sustainable mining process with twin goals of achieving higher resource utilization and also making a difference in how companies can align social and environmental concern with business operations. Scotbar is one of the small companies in the Helidon Waterfall region. The owners knew about the pitfalls of traditional mining and wanted to develop a company that could be a trendsetter in the mining environment. They had threefold visions of how they want to achieve this. They want to invest smartly, develop a sustainable process, and at the same time build a company that does not just focus on profit but also work for the greater good of the people and environment. The traditional mining company is characterized by the focus on a single product, as a result of which there is considerable wastage of resource. This has led to serious impacts on the environment, like contamination of ground and surface water, air pollution, wind erosion, soil damage, and loss of local plants and animals. The Scotbar wanted to develop a process to ensure 100% utilization of resources by developing multiple innovative products from sandstone. And at the same time, they want to maintain the biodiversity of the habitat is slowly built to its natural ecosystem. As a small company, there were a number of challenges that had to be met immediately, like restoring the mines from current Tier 5 status to Tier 1 status. For this to happen, considerable efforts were made to eliminate the waste and reclaim the abandoned mines. The efforts were compounded by the flash flood in the Toowoomba region in 2011. The company was in the forefront of rescue effort, using all their machinery to save life. For the greater good of the region, they agreed to the request of the Queensland government to have the toxic waste dumped in the mines until remediation was done. Because of the bureaucratic hurdles, the mines were under a state of non-operation mode for 3 years. This time was also one of the most beneficial times for Scotbar to build a relationship with the government agencies and build a strong regulatory framework and being in the forefront on all guidelines. Through their in-house research and development team, they were able to use every part of the sandstone that was mined. From the boulders, they were able to make international grade dimension blocks. They were able to develop sand tiles, non-dusting road base, a variety of other sands, and manufactured sand. Looking at the product portfolio, the waste that is generated out of the boulder process was sent to a crushing plant, and from the crushing plant, multiple variety of other products were developed. Quartz floor is another product that is under development to be used in the cement industries. There has been an increased demand in the consumption of industrial sand. It is projected that by the year 2025, the total requirement of industrial sand would be around 406 millions of metric tons. The consumption of construction sand has been around 30 gigatons in 2017 and projected to go to 60 gigatons by 2060. The jewel of the innovation process is the development of sand characterized by a very high purity of 97% quartz crystals, total absence of clay, high strength and durability, pure and consistent texture. The superior nature of this product resulted in tremendous savings for the global premium cement company in making a product that had superior finish and higher quality. The high cost of making this sand is offset by the considerable savings in the form of cost avoidance due to repair work that comes at a later stage. Another innovative product of Scotbar was the development of sand tile, which had 75% lower weight. It was laminated on a support tile with superior strength and prevent cracking, and it was outsourced to China to cater for the mass production. Another component that is under development is the quartz feldspar, which is used in cement. This would reduce the pollution to a large extent. It is a low margin, high volume part. From a small pilot plant, Scotbar was able to make a capital investment of $20 million in investing in a fully automated and self-regulating plant. As on date, they have invested close to $5 million in efforts to reduce the carbon footprint. By making use of an advanced German innovation, they are in their efforts to turn waste to energy that could power the local resident and also supply electricity to grid. This will the focus in the next 20 years.
John Elkington was credited with coining the phrase corporate social responsibility, which gave rise to the triple bottom line: people, planet, and profits. Scott Barr has demonstrated their values to each of these elements. For people, the example of the people of Toowoomba were experiencing a crisis. They used Scott Barr's quarry to store toxic waste, in which Scott Barr did not get reimbursed, but they thought that that was their duty to the people. For Planet, they restored a quarry at over a cost of $2 million because they believed that was the right thing to do. They also recycle the water that they use in their processes. Profits have been discussed quite thoroughly throughout this presentation. So far we have discussed the internal choices that Scott Barr has made. There are factors on the outside that will affect the market in the future, and these can be summed up with Porter's 5 forces. The forces are the buyer's power, the seller's power, the substitutes, and new entrants to the market. And there is the fifth element there is the rivals inside of the market. The buyers are composed of those people that are purchasing the sand from Scott Barr. Scott Barr needs to make a value proposition to those buyers that their higher priced sand will save them money in the long run. The sellers are composed of those governments that have areas to mine, and Scott Barr needs to convince them that Scott Barr is the best alternative, that they'll take care of the environment, and they have a rapport going with a lot of those governmental agencies. Substitutes are naturally occurring river sand, which is in decline right now. And they also have very impurities that produce fractures and failures in the cement. The new entrants to the market are faced with high barriers to entry, so there shouldn't be too many of those, where one new piece of equipment costs nearly $20 million for Scott Barr. The last piece of the puzzle is the rivals in the market. Now, they need to be able to communicate with each other. When looking at the SWOT analysis of Scott Barr, there needs to be two areas of focus. One is the traditional business sense, and two is the stated objectives and goals of Scott Barr, and that is to reduce the impact of mining globally. Now, they're only a small portion of the mining community, so the direct impact that they have on environmental conservation is small. Now, when we look at the traditional business sense, the greatest strength that Scott Barr has is their research and development, which has led to increased efficiency in use of materials. They've created diverse and differentiated products, which has led to opportunities in new markets in which they can't keep up with their demand. The biggest weakness is that they have a small research and development budget, and that they share their processes, which we'll see comes back a little bit later. The threat that they have is some other company could invest more in research and development without sharing their research. When we look in that second vein, the stated objectives and goals, we see that one of their strengths is they don't have any copyrights, or they also share their processes. But the biggest weakness that we found is it doesn't mention how they share the processes. It doesn't mention that they communicate those processes actively with any other mining companies. And we think that's one of the biggest areas of opportunity for Scott Barr if they want to achieve their stated goals.